Through no fault of his own, the driver was seriously injured. He hasn't worked since. Suppose this were to happen to you. Who would you call for legal advice?
Williams, Green, and McKinley.
Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you there was no Williams, Green, and McKinley. We had no clients. We didn't know what we were doing.
These commercials were made at a time when legal advertising still had no clear identity. Nobody knew exactly what it would become, who it would reach, or how much it would eventually change the relationship between lawyers and the public.
If you take an experienced, knowledgeable lawyer and take away his expensive office and fancy trimmings, limit him to a $25 consultation fee, and make him give you a written estimate of the fees up front, and take away the legal mumbo-jumbo and make him explain your case in plain, simple English.
Yeah, I got it.
What have you got left?
Yeah.
An experienced, knowledgeable lawyer.
Okay, I'll keep you informed.
Jacoby and Myers.
Bye-bye.
Now you can take advantage of a lawyer.
Oh my, I remember that commercial. Yeah, that's in the early 80s. You know, if we were to take that commercial and we were to upgrade the clothing and the hairstyle, the concept can be played very, very well today. You know, one of the trademarks that I have is no gimmicks, just results. And boy, that would play well with that.
Call the law office of Bart Durham.
Hey, you filling in for Louis? Where is he?
Man, didn't you hear Louis in the hospital? Some guy jumped the divider and hit Louis' car head on. He's gonna be okay, but it's gonna be a long haul for him.
That's tough. Hope he has a good lawyer.
Call the law office of Bart Durham. We'll fight for you to make the guilty party pay for your pain and suffering, your lost work. Got a legal problem? Pick up the phone and call the law office of
Oh my,
Bart
that
Durham.
commercial's from 1981, by the way.
242-9000.
Un problema legal. Llame a Joel Atlas Kirble and Associates.
Oye, ¿tú vas a reemplazar a Luis? ¿Dónde está él?
¿No te has enterado?
No.
Está en el hospital. Alguien cruzó la línea divisoria y le pegó a su auto de frente.
If I remember correctly, we shot the Hispanic version first. Then we had an afterthought of why aren't we doing this in English as well?
Nosotros defendemos sus derechos a obligar a los culpables a pagar por su dolor y sus daños.
I mean, that was way ahead of anything.
When will Daddy be well enough to go to work?
I don't know, dear. It might be a long time.
If a breadwinner in your family is the innocent victim of an accident, medical malpractice, a faulty product, who's going to pay the bill?
Well, I think that in advertising back in the day, we talked to people, not at people.
I'm worried.
Oh, I know, darling.
Call Meyer and Perfader. We'll help make the guilty party pay for your pain and suffering. There's no obligation.
I think that we were more humanistic and more compassionate in advertising. I think we related to people better.
A speeding truck forced a car into this guardrail. Through no fault of his own, the driver was seriously injured. He hasn't worked since. Suppose this were to happen to you. Who would you call for legal advice?
Williams, Green, and McKinley. Legal fees come out of monies collected. If you've got a cause for action, we'll help you take it.
There are statutes of limitations. Act now before time runs out.
Call for free consultation.
First of all, I'm going to tell you there was no Williams, Green, and McKinley. We made that up.
You made up.
We made it up. We had no clients. That was the first commercial we ever did. And that was, I mean, we put this together with Band-Aids. We didn't know what we were doing.
What started without a plan would eventually change who felt allowed to call a lawyer.
The people that benefited the most from legal advertising were people that didn't know they had a case, they didn't know they can be protected, they didn't know how to go after the insurance company, they didn't know how to settle their case, just even the medical bills. Usually people that were well-to-do or well-connected, they had connections, and that's how legal services was sought for. The Supreme Court gave people access to the courtroom. Then the Yellow Pages came along, and then they started to advertise tremendously. That was the big surge into advertising, by the way. Television was for the forward thinker.
Do you think the new generation of lawyers and advertisers is aware that what we are doing is selling access to justice in today's advertising?
I think that the new lawyer that is up and coming in advertising, I'm very disturbed at how they treat people. They commoditize it, and we're not pieces of meat. But we're losing what the profession is about, I believe, because we're hurting people in and out. We're advertising numbers. When a lawyer walks into his office, and every single lawyer that I know walks into his office, says, "How many cases did we sign?" These are people calling the office, and it's the absolute worst day of their lives.
For some lawyers, the Hispanic market was an opportunity. For others, it was a responsibility.
I woke up to the Hispanic community on a personal basis because I have always been passionate about it. I think when we started to focus on that population, we definitely got a response because they're just as human as anybody else. But where I started to resent the lawyers that were going after the Hispanic population is they didn't understand the culture, is they didn't take the time to understand it. They didn't respect the victims. They treated them like commodity, piece of meat. And the best way to describe that is a lot of lawyers said, well, I want a Hispanic business because it represents a lot of cases. And they put up a sign, habla español. But when you went into their offices, they really didn't speak Spanish. And that's not what I call a commitment to society. Truthfully, one of the first things that we realized, one of the humanities of the demographic, is we realized that when our Hispanic clients came to our office, it wasn't usually one person, it was the whole family, and it was always somebody that could speak Spanish.
In many Hispanic households, a legal problem rarely belongs to just one person.
You're bringing 5 people to a meeting? That's unheard of. And what really, really shook me up is when the children were in the lobby and they didn't have toys to play with, or there wasn't a cultural connection. You have to have a human element involved. And when lawyers started to adapt to the culture of the Hispanic community, that's when meaningful cases started to really come in, because people trusted the lawyer because they saw that the lawyer trusted them.
Look at where we've come today, how some firms have become fully centered in Hispanic outreach. What does that mean for you personally?
I'm very pleased that we have moved into recognizing such an important population. And I'm also very pleased that many people respect that population and go about it in a very right way.
Recognition is not the end of the story. It only raises the harder question. What are we still missing?
When I started to use what you don't know, you don't know. When I first really applied that sentence, I think it was through intake. And it really bothered me that the client didn't track and have accountability on what was coming and going in the law firm. They were just counting, the cases. They weren't looking at what they were losing. Let's look a little further. Let's see what we don't see. Because if you want to make gain in life, you want to make gain financially, you got to figure out how you're spending your money, but what don't I see?
If you had to choose one thing that next generations of lawyers know you for, what would that one thing be?
Boy, nobody's ever asked me that question. I have to say, be a good lawyer. Number one, it's the right thing to do. Number two, you'll make the most amount of money. And number three, you'll help the most amount of people. Saying to the public, we only take serious cases. Everybody thinks that case is important. But practice good law. Do what you signed up to do. And have compassion.
Some things in this business come from training. Others come from who you already are.
I think that You either have a giving spirit or a compassionate spirit, or you don't. What I do believe in authenticity, and that separates a lot of people. If you're not a good person, you're not going to get up in front of a television screen and say, I'm a good person, and be a phony. This will see right through it. You either are or you're not. You have to be absolutely a genuine person to project a genuine image. You have to show respect, dedication, sincerity, and develop a culture that you're culturally oriented towards the people that you want to attract.
The way people build businesses usually says something about how they were raised.
When I started in business, I didn't have any money. I didn't have any advertising. I had nothing. I had knowledge, and I gave that away. Some people say I was too charitable with my information. And so I grew up in a home that my parents taught me to be philanthropic. You know, if I had $1, give 50 cents, to the person lying on the street. My parents did it in a very humble and very quiet way.
The work survives because someone takes the time to pass it on.
I got pulled into the film business. I guess it was an accident. I don't know what it was. But from that day on, I had the greatest mentors. And their work ethic was unbelievable.
I want you to think and travel back in time and see yourself as that kid in that first shot, moving around sandbags, watching the lights at the set come up, just about to participate and witness your first commercial being shot. What would you tell that kid?
I would tell that kid on that set, do what you did. Keep your head down. Keep working. Be humble. Move those sandbags. Don't answer back. Learn everything that you could possibly learn. And take it to the next generation.
Edward M. Bernstein and Associates, attorneys at law.
Tome el primer paso.